Okay, good morning and welcome to another Speedy Friday webinar. I hope you're all okay and having a good Friday so far. So today I'm going to be talking to you about our new personal feedback report. And before I show you the report itself, I'm going to go through a little bit of an overview before you have a look at the different sections. And so the personal feedback report does kind of what it says on the tin. It's a report that's designed to be an elegant and easy way to provide your candidates with valuable feedback, whether they're successful through to hire or not. So this isn't just for the people who go on to be hired if it's recruitment. It can be just as useful, if not sometimes more useful, for the people who haven't necessarily been successful. It's also useful for development exercises, so it's not just a recruitment tool. So the report itself provides a deeper look into the individual's personality at work. And unlike some of our other reports, this report has specific scale information, and thus it takes a trait approach. Those of you who are familiar with psychometrics may be more familiar with that term, but essentially it means that it provides the user with a complete and well-rounded picture of all of their different personality factors at work. So it's designed to be used by the candidate themselves rather than by an HR manager or line manager. It can be handed directly over to the candidate. And it's designed to be used for improved self-awareness and improved personal development. So as well as the traditional trait description section, the report has 4 other sections, and I'm going to go through each of them in more detail, but just briefly, the sections are their development possibilities, their career choices, and then their hints and tips. So that's the adapting their styles hints and tips section. And then finally, there's a page at the back of the report which is designed for their own structured development planning, and this is where they kind of begin their self-development journey after having read through the report. So the front of the report looks like this. You're probably familiar with this already. It's designed to be congruent with our other reports, our kind of new fresh look to our reports. And the first thing to say is that it's ready and waiting. So it's up there. It's all been assigned to your Coast user accounts, and you can find it in the drop-down box along with the rest of the suites when you go to download your candidate reports. So you can see it all looks kind of fairly familiar. You have the understanding this report page there, and then the only thing that looks slightly different is on the front page you have the 5 circular graphics at the bottom, and they correspond to each of the different sections of the report. So that's your personality section, your development, your career choices, adapting your work styles, and then your personal reflections. So the first section of the report then, this is the more kind of traditional section, and this has adopted a presentation style that should be familiar to some candidates already, and the main point here is that it's really simple to interpret. It's got a kind of an intuitive approach to understanding the information here. You can see that their STEM scores are represented in the graphic at the top from each of the scale headings from low end to high end of each of the personality scales, and then below those graphics there's a section that provides a more in-depth look at each scale with accompanying scale descriptions and example behaviours for them to have a look at there. So these pages are split into sections created at the questionnaire level. So if you leave this as it is, then as you can see, it will fall under our off-the-shelf headings, which are interpersonal style, thinking style, emotional style, motivation, and the one you can't see here is culture fit. But this is fully customizable on the Coast platform, and so it could be made to mirror any of your specific organizational values frameworks. So if you wanted to have these kind of changed to represent more your tone of voice, then that's absolutely doable. You can just change those headings when you make your questionnaire, and then the scales will fall under the ones that you've assigned them to. So after the more kind of traditional personality report section of this report, the next sections are really where it sets itself apart from kind of the rest of the things that you might see on the market. And so this first, or the second section, called your development section, takes 5 of the candidates' key personality areas based on their responses to the questionnaire, and these are the ones that may be most relevant or a good place to start for their personal development. So for each of the personality sections, there's a development opportunity is offered for them to consider and to have a think about. And so these considerations and these ones that are picked out are based on both ends of the scale. So it's not necessarily picking out, it's kind of slightly more, it's more sophisticated than just picking out the ones that they scored the highest. It picks out the ones that are kind of most relevant for their personal development for this report. And so this page is really ideal for giving the individual a good place to start for their personal development journey. After having had quite a lot of in-depth information about all of the different aspects of their personality, this kind of narrows that down into something that's kind of easier to digest and a good place to start having a think about what they might want to start working on first. So it's not saying that these are the things that you are not very good at all. It's just saying that these are some things that you might want to consider having a think about and thinking about your approach, and are there parts of that approach that's working really well, or are there parts that you might want to have a think about adapting or having some training in. So as well as this being a good kind of individual tool, this page is really good for a springboard for discussion with other members of your team. So maybe your line manager or a colleague or a friend or a mentor or coach. And that's because if you're using this report as part of development exercises rather than during recruitment, it's a really good page to kind of facilitate discussion. So if you have told your team member to go and take this questionnaire and then go and have a look and think about what's going on in these pages, this is a good place to come back and start having a chat about, okay, well, do you agree with some of these things, or which one of these do you think you feel is most relevant to you, and start going making some development plans from there. So this second section is called Your Career Choices, and this provides some information relevant to the career of the candidates based on the same 5 key personality areas. So for each of the 5 scales, indicators are given for work choices that are going to be well suited to their preferences, given their responses to the questionnaire, and some that are slightly less aligned with their personality. And so this isn't saying that you should be definitely doing something like this and you won't be able to succeed in something like this. It's just saying that based on your responses, you're more likely to be able to adopt this kind of career quite quickly. You'd probably feel at home there and be able to get on with it without too much difficulty. And on the other side, it might be that if you're wanting a career in a job industry that requires these things, this might be worth bearing in mind and thinking about kind of going through some training or some self-development so that you're going to feel more confident in those areas and then become a kind of more well-rounded candidate or employee. And so this page, when we were designing it, it's designed to be relevant across sectors. We didn't want it to be industry specific so that as many people could use this report as they can. So rather than it be specific job role examples, they're behavior and motivation based. So this section, called Adapting Your Work Styles, is really where they get some really in-depth information about how they've responded to the questionnaire. And so it picks out their 3 strongest preferences and then gives them some information about how they could learn to adapt these most preferred styles to suit different situations. So what we're saying here is that where the person might have quite a strong preference for behaving in a certain way or behaving interpersonally in a certain way or thinking style or is motivated by certain things, often that will work absolutely fine. But sometimes it's good to be able to adapt these styles to suit a wider or broader range of scenarios. And so the information that you get here, it provides you with some hints and tips to reflect on as a guide to start their development to be able to become slightly more flexible. And so the kind of things that you'd expect to find in here, the hints and tips section would be new ways of approaching situations, tips on their interpersonal strategy, possibly exercises for reframing past experiences. So using the examples in your own mind of behavior or tasks that you've completed in the past, thinking about how those went. Did they go really well, or did they not go so well, or have you seen other people do things really well that you could try and fit into the way you work? And then also ways to adapt future behavior. So this is the section where they really start to get to think about how they behave at work and where are the areas that they think that they could do with some development, and then it gives you some tips on how to begin that process. So this final section is a chance for the individual to reflect on their thoughts, having read through the report. So it's quite a lot of information for them to get through. So this is kind of where they collate their thinking, having gone through the various different sections. So it might be that they agree with some things, and they've kind of already known that there are some things that they need to develop, and this has solidified that. There might be some things in here that they hadn't thought of already, and it's kind of given them pause for thought, and they want to think about where they could take their development next in those areas. So the first section is where they can reflect on what their current strengths are. So what things do they feel confident in? Are there things that they perhaps didn't think that they were confident in, but having had a think, they think, actually, no, I am quite good at that. So that's for that section there, to kind of list the things that they know that they're already pretty good at. And then the second section is where they need to put down some of the key areas that they believe would be most beneficial for their personal development. So having read through the information, are the things that have stuck out to them to say, okay, for me to grow in this role, I really think that it would be good for me to have a bit of practice doing this, or work with my line manager to have more chances to experience this kind of work. So how to use it, some do's and don'ts. I think I've covered most of these, but just to reiterate the point that the language in this report is all phrased in the second person, so it's all yous and yours. And so given that, this report really is designed to be handed straight over to the candidate or employee. It doesn't require any interpretation by you as the client or the HR professional or line manager. It's designed to be handed straight over specifically for their personal development. And it can be used, as I've mentioned already, individually, so you can just hand it over and then they can work through it on their own, or it can be used as a development exercise to work if you're going through team initiatives, or to kind of work through with a trusted person. And so because of this, it's not designed to be used by the line manager or similar without the candidate being there. So it wouldn't be relevant for kind of making hiring decisions. This is specifically for the development of that individual. So some final points of note. Whenever you use psychometrics, we advise, and the BPS advises, that it's best practice to offer your candidates feedback on their results. And this can seem kind of laborious, especially if you have lots of respondents to your recruitment campaigns. It would be a lot of work for you as people to interpret all of their results and then come up with feedback for their future career options or career options in your company. So this report makes that incredibly easy. You can send it over just via soft copy or hard copy, and it means that those people are given some really valuable insights into their personal development without you having to do any of the hard work. And because of this, it's competitively priced. So we wanted it to be competitively priced both to other similar reports on the market, but also to some of our own reports. And it's one of our lengthier reports. It's got a lot of tailor-made text in there. It's not just a personality report rephrased to be in the second person. It has all of those other sections to make this something that's actually going to be really useful for those people, whether they've been hired into your organization, whether they've been there for years and they're doing some self-development, or actually they haven't been successful, but you want to give those people something. They've been through your recruitment process and they haven't been successful, but this is something that they can take away and use to develop themselves further. It's also quickly worth mentioning that it's compatible with all of the scales in the CAL library. So you can use this questionnaire with ones that you've built yourself in the past or in the future. It doesn't require a certain set of scales for the algorithms to work. So you can mix and match and use whichever ones you like. And one final thing to mention is that investment into the development of your people, we know, has been proven to have long and short-term benefits. And these include improved efficiency, less staff turnover, and improved engagement. And so we have a blog post that's just gone live on our blog yesterday, which you're very welcome to have a read through. And it just talks about how sometimes when organizations are investing in things that they want to make their company grow, employee development kind of tends to fall to the bottom of the heap and kind of overshadowed by ramping up online marketing and all those kind of things. But actually how it's really worth thinking about, and the return on investment in employee development is great. It's kind of a win-win for them. They're developing and you retain those top talent because they feel that they're growing in your business. But it's also great for benefits in terms of increased productivity, customer service, all these things. So there's a blog post up there that has just some information and then some steps on how you can create employee development plans that are going to actually work and give you a step-by-step process for how you can start thinking about improving your processes. So thank you very much. I think that's all I need to say on the personal feedback report. If you have any questions, do get in touch. You can call us or email us on letterbox@criterion.co.uk. I would love to answer any questions that you might have. And I hope you enjoy using the personal feedback report and have a lovely weekend.